Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra's edge, watching the stars through the main screen. His ship was on a routine patrol mission near the edge of human space. The crew had been traveling for 3 weeks without seeing anything unusual. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lisa Parker, the chief engineer. She was looking at her control panel with a worried face. "There's a signal coming from the Kepler 442 system." Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of signal?" "It's a distress call, sir, but it's not from any human ship." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "The computer says it's using some kind of alien technology." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew that humans had never made contact with aliens before. There were rules about what to do if they ever found alien signals. Very strict rules. "Let me hear it," Jake said. Lisa pressed a button. Strange sounds filled the bridge. The computer tried to translate the alien words, but only some of them made sense. Jake could hear panic in the alien voices, even though he didn't understand their language. "Computer, what can you tell us about this signal?" Jake asked. The ship's computer spoke in its calm voice. "The signal appears to be from a large vessel in severe distress. Initial analysis suggests engine failure and life support problems. The vessel contains approximately 50,000 life forms." Jake felt his stomach drop. 50,000 lives were in danger. "Sir," said Amy Chen, the ship's pilot, "the Kepler 442 system is restricted. The Galactic Council has placed it off limits to all primitive species. That includes us." Jake knew Amy was right. Earth had received the Galactic Council's message 5 years ago. It was humanity's first proof that aliens existed. The message was clear. Humans were too young and dangerous to join galactic civilization. They must stay in their own small area of space and wait for permission to explore further. "What's the Council's procedure for this situation?" Jake asked. Carlos Rodriguez, the navigation officer, checked his files. "We're supposed to report any alien contact to Earth Command. Earth Command will contact the Galactic Council. The Council will send their own rescue ships." "How long will that take?" Carlos did some quick math. "The message will take 2 days to reach Earth. Earth will need time to contact the Council. The Council's nearest ships are in the Vega system. Total time, maybe 6 days." Jake looked at the alien signal data on Lisa's screen. The ship was losing power fast. "Computer, how long do you think that alien ship can survive?" "Based on current power loss rates, the vessel will lose life support within 18 hours. Complete system. Failure will occur in approximately 36 hours. The bridge was silent again. Everyone understood what this meant. If they followed the rules, 50,000 aliens would die while waiting for help. "There has to be something we can do," said Dr. Sam Bradley, the ship's doctor. He had come to the bridge when he heard about the alien signal. "We can't just let them die." "The rules are clear," Amy said. "If we enter that system, we'll be violating Galactic Council law. Earth could be punished. Humanity could be banned from space forever." Jake walked back to his captain's chair. He had been in space for 15 years. He had seen what happened when people followed rules instead of doing what was right. Good people died while others worried about paperwork. "Lisa, can our ship reach the Kepler 442 system?" "Yes, sir. It would take about 8 hours at maximum speed." "Do we have the equipment to help them?" Lisa thought for a moment. "I don't know what their technology is like, but we have repair tools, extra power cells, and medical supplies. If their ship is similar to ours in basic ways, maybe we can help." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These were good people. They had joined the space service to explore and help others. Now they faced a choice between following orders and saving lives. "Sir," Carlos said quietly, If we go there, the Council will know. Our engines leave traces. They'll be able to prove we violated their law. I know, Jake said. He pressed the ship's communication button. All crew, this is the captain. Report to your emergency stations. We're about to make a rescue attempt. Amy turned in her chair. Sir, are you sure about this? The consequences could be severe. Jake nodded. Amy, set course for the Kepler 442 system. Maximum speed. But, Captain, I've made my decision. 50,000 beings are going to die if we don't act. I won't let that happen while we wait for permission from people who are 6 days away. Amy's hands moved over her controls. Course set, sir. Lisa, start preparing our repair equipment. Sam, get the medical bay ready for possible alien patients. Carlos, monitor all communications. I want to know if anyone else is coming to help. The crew began working quickly. Jake could see they were nervous, but they trusted his judgment. They all understood that this was the right thing to do. Engaging faster-than-light drive, Amy announced. The stars on the main screen changed. Terra's Edge jumped into hyperspace, racing toward the alien ship. Jake knew that in a few hours, everything would change. Humanity would either save 50,000 lives or face the anger of an entire galaxy. Sir, Lisa said from her station, I'm getting more detailed readings on the alien ship. It's huge, much bigger than anything humans have ever built, and their technology is very advanced. Can we still help them? I think so. Their ship might be advanced, but the basic problems are the same. Power failures, hull breaches, life support. Issues? We know how to fix those things. Jake smiled. Humans might not have the most advanced technology in the galaxy, but they were good at solving problems. They had been fixing things and helping each other for thousands of years. The ship continued through hyperspace. In 8 hours, they would arrive at the alien vessel. Jake hoped they would be in time. He also hoped that when the Galactic Council learned what they had done, they would understand why humans had acted without permission. But even if the Council didn't understand, Jake knew he had made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing meant breaking the rules. Sometimes saving lives was more important than following orders. Terra's Edge raced through space toward an uncertain future. Terra's Edge dropped out of hyperspace near the alien ship. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, staring at the massive vessel on the main screen. It was 3 times bigger than any human ship he had ever seen. My God, whispered Amy Chen. Look at the size of that thing. The alien ship was beautiful but clearly in trouble. Its hull was dark in many places where power had failed. Jake could see atmosphere leaking from several holes in its side. Pieces of metal floated around the ship, like a cloud of debris. Lisa, what's our scanner reading? Jake asked. The ship is called Cosmic Harmony, Lisa Parker said, reading from her instruments. It's a colony transport. I'm detecting about 50,000 life forms aboard just like we thought. But, Captain, their life support is failing fast. They have maybe 12 hours left. Can we communicate with them? I'm trying to establish contact now. Lisa worked at her controls for several minutes. Finally, she looked up. I have them, sir. The universal translator is working, but it's slow. Put them through. The main screen changed to show the inside of the alien ship. Jake saw a tall, graceful being with blue skin and large eyes. The alien looked tired and scared. This is Ship Mother Veltar of the Cosmic Harmony, the alien said. Her voice was musical, even through the translator. Who are you? Your ship design is unknown to us. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship Terra's Edge. We received your distress call. We're here to help. Veltar's eyes widened in surprise. Earth? But your species is restricted from this sector. You should not be here. We know, Jake said. But we couldn't let you die while waiting for help. What's your situation? Our main engines exploded 6 hours ago. We have hull breaches on 5 decks. Our power is failing, and we cannot repair the damage with our remaining resources. Veltar paused. But your ship is so small. How can you possibly help us? Jake smiled. Sometimes small can be better. We're going to try something. Can you lower your shield so we can dock with your ship? Your docking system will not be compatible with ours. Our technologies are completely different. Let us worry about that, Jake said. Amy, take us in close. Lisa, prepare the docking. Tube. Carlos, scan their hull for the best place to attach. The crew worked quickly while Veltar watched with confusion. Terra's edge moved slowly toward the massive alien ship. Jake could see that the two vessels were indeed very different. The human ship was small and simple compared to the elegant alien design. I found a good spot, Carlos reported. Their hull is flat there, and it's close to what looks like an airlock. Amy, put us right next to them. Lisa, extend the docking tube. Sir, Amy said nervously. Their ship is so much bigger than ours. If something goes wrong, we'll make it work, Jake said. He had confidence in his crew. The docking process took an hour. Lisa had to modify the docking tube with spare parts and welding equipment. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. When the connection was complete, Jake led a team aboard the alien ship. The inside of Cosmic Harmony was amazing. The corridors were wide and curved, with walls that seemed to glow with their own light. But Jake could see the damage everywhere. Broken panels, flickering lights, and the smell of burned electronics filled the air. Veltar met them at the airlock. She was even taller than she had looked on the screen. I still do not understand how you plan to help us. Your technology appears so primitive. Sometimes primitive works better, said Dr. Sam Bradley, who was carrying his medical kit. Where are your injured? Follow me, Veltar said. She led them through the ship, explaining the damage as they walked. Our repair systems are too complex. When the engines exploded, they damaged the computer network that controls everything. Without the computers, we cannot fix anything. Jake nodded. That's your problem right there. You're too dependent on computers. Lisa, what do you think? Lisa was examining one of the hull breaches. I can fix this with our welding equipment. It won't be as pretty as their original work, but it will hold. Pete, help me set up the welders. Pete Walker, another engineer, unpacked their tools. The aliens watched with fascination as the humans began working with simple, manual equipment. You fix things by hand? Asked one of the alien engineers. Sometimes the old ways work best, Pete said. He started welding metal plates over the hole, in the hull. Your computers might be smarter than ours, but they can't work when they're broken. Our tools keep working no matter what. While the engineers worked on the hull, Dr. Bradley treated injured aliens in their medical bay. The alien doctors watched in amazement as he used simple but effective techniques to help their patients. Your medical methods are so different, said the alien chief doctor. We use complex energy treatments. You use chemicals and physical procedures. Both ways can work, Sam said as he bandaged an alien's injured arm. The important thing is helping the patient. The biggest challenge was restoring power to the ship. The alien power system was completely different from human technology. But Lisa had an idea. We can't fix their power system, she told Jake. But we can connect our power cells directly to their essential systems. It will bypass their damaged computers. Is that safe? Veltar asked. Probably not by your standards, Lisa admitted. but it will keep your people alive until proper help arrives. For the next 8 hours, the human crew worked without stopping. They welded hull breaches, connected power systems, and repaired life support equipment. They used hammers, welding torches, and simple tools that the aliens had never seen before. The aliens were amazed by how quickly the humans worked. They didn't need computer approval for every action. They didn't stop to run complex calculations. They just identified problems and fixed them. "Your species is remarkable," Veltar told Jake as they watched Lisa connect the final power coupling. "You accomplish more with simple tools than we can with all our advanced technology." "We've had a lot of practice fixing things," Jake said. "Humans have been solving problems for a long time." When the work was finished, Cosmic Harmony had power, atmosphere, and working life support. It wasn't perfect, but it was safe. The 50,000 aliens aboard the ship would survive until proper rescue ships arrived. "How can we repay you?" Veltar asked. "You have saved all our lives." "We don't need payment," Jake said. "We just wanted to help. But you have violated Galactic Council law to help us. You will face punishment for this." Jake shrugged. "We'll deal with that when it happens. The important thing is that your people are safe." As Terra's Edge prepared to leave, Veltar sent a message to the Galactic Council. She told them exactly what the humans had done and how they had saved 50,000 lives. She also told them that the humans had asked for nothing in return. Jake didn't know it yet, but Veltar's message would change everything. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't just break rules, they broke them for the right reasons. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous. Thousands of beings from hundreds of different worlds sat in curved rows that reached up toward a domed ceiling. At the center of the chamber stood a single platform where the accused would face judgment. Ambassador Linda Brooks walked slowly toward that platform. She was the first human ever to enter the council chamber. She should have felt honored, but instead she felt like she was walking to her execution. High Arbiter Thexan of the Centauri Dominion looked down at her from his tall chair. He was an imposing figure with gray skin and 6 arms. His voice echoed through the chamber when he spoke. "Human representative, you stand before this council to answer for your species' crimes. Do you understand why you are here?" Linda stood straight and spoke clearly. "I understand that humans are accused of violating the first contact protocols, but I also understand that 50,000 innocent lives were saved." A wave of angry sounds came from the council members. Many different species made noises of disapproval. Thexan raised one of his hands for silence. "Your species was specifically told to remain in your designated area of space," he said. "You were told to avoid all contact with galactic civilization until you proved you were ready. Yet you deliberately entered restricted space and interfered with a council matter." "The Cosmic Harmony was dying," Linda said. "Our ship was the only one close enough to help. We couldn't just watch 50,000 beings die while waiting for permission to save them." Counselor Zarahai of the Vegan Assembly stood up. She was a tall, thin being with silver skin that reflected the chamber's lights. "This is exactly why primitive species are restricted. You act without thinking. You have no understanding of the larger consequences." "What larger consequences?" Linda asked. "Lives were saved. How is that wrong?" "You contaminated a first contact." "Situation," Zarahai said angrily. "The Zephyrians were supposed to make contact with us through proper channels. Now they have been exposed to your primitive methods and dangerous thinking." Another council member stood up. This was Ambassador Crystal from the Andromedan Union. His species looked like large insects with multiple eyes. The humans have proven they cannot follow simple instructions. They are clearly too dangerous to be allowed in space. I agree, said a voice from the upper section. The humans must be quarantined immediately. Their ships should be confined to their home system until they learn proper behavior. Linda felt anger rising in her chest. These beings were talking about punishing humanity for saving lives. With respect, counselors, I don't understand how saving innocent people makes us dangerous. You don't understand because you are primitive, Thexun said. The protocols exist for good reasons. First contact must be carefully controlled. Species must be properly evaluated before they are allowed to interact. Your actions could have caused a war. How could saving lives cause a war? What if the Zephyrians had been enemies of the Council? Zarahai asked. What if they had been criminals fleeing justice? You acted without knowledge, without permission, without thought. We acted to save lives, Linda said firmly. Isn't that what civilized beings should do? The chamber erupted in angry voices. Many council members were shouting in their own languages. Linda could hear words like dangerous, primitive, and uncontrolled being translated by her earpiece. Thexun finally restored order. The human representative clearly does not understand the seriousness of this situation. Let me make it very clear. Your species has violated the most basic laws of galactic civilization. You have interfered with a restricted situation. You have contaminated a first contact scenario. You have acted without council approval. And we saved 50,000 lives, Linda said again. That is irrelevant, Crixtal said. The law is the law. Primitive species must follow the rules or face the consequences. What consequences? Linda asked, though she was afraid of the answer. Thexun looked around the chamber. Many council members were nodding in agreement with what he was about to say. The council will vote on several measures. First, humanity will be classified as a rogue species. Second, all human ships will be banned from leaving their home system. Third, any human vessel found outside designated space will be destroyed without warning. The words hit Linda like a physical blow. You're going to imprison our entire species because we saved lives? You are being punished because you broke the law, Zarahai said. The fact that lives were saved is unfortunate, but it does not excuse your actions. Unfortunate? Linda couldn't believe what she was hearing. You think saving lives is unfortunate? Think acting without permission is dangerous, Thexun said. Your species has proven that it cannot be trusted to follow basic rules. Therefore, you cannot be trusted with the freedom of space. Linda looked around the enormous chamber. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy were staring down at her. Most of them looked angry or disgusted. They saw humanity as a problem to be solved, not as fellow beings trying to do the right thing. What about the Zephyrians? Linda asked. Don't they get a say in this? We saved their people. The Zephyrians are grateful, but gratitude does not change the law, Thexun said. Ship Mother Veltar has requested to speak on your behalf, but her testimony cannot excuse your crimes. Crimes? Linda felt her control slipping. We committed crimes by saving lives? You committed crimes by violating council law, Crixtal said. The outcome is irrelevant to the crime. The outcome is 50,000 living beings who would be dead right now if we had followed your precious rules, Linda said, her voice rising. If that's a crime, then I'm proud that humans are criminals. The chamber exploded in angry voices again. Several council members stood up and pointed at Linda while shouting in their languages. Security guards moved closer to the platform. Thexan slammed a device on his desk that made a loud ringing sound. "Order! Order in this chamber!" When the noise died down, he looked at Linda with cold eyes. "The human representative has just proven our point. Your species has no respect for law or order. You believe your emotions justify any action. We believe that saving lives justifies any action," Linda said. "That attitude makes you dangerous," Thexan said. "A species that ignores law in favor of emotion cannot be trusted with advanced technology. You will remain in your home system until you learn proper behavior." "And how long will that take?" Linda asked. "However long it takes," Zarahai said. "Perhaps a few hundred years in isolation will teach your species the value of following rules." Linda felt the weight of the moment. The entire future of humanity was being decided by beings who cared more about rules than lives. They were going to lock her species away from the stars because humans had dared to help others. "Is there anything humans can do to change this decision?" she asked. The council members looked at each other. Finally, Thexan spoke. "The decision will be voted on tomorrow. Unless something extraordinary happens to change our minds, humanity will be quarantined." As Linda was escorted from the chamber, she wondered what could possibly change the minds of beings who thought saving lives was a crime. But somewhere in the galaxy, Ship Mother Veltar was preparing to do exactly that. Ship Mother Veltar entered the Galactic Council chamber with her entire senior crew behind her. The Zephyrians were tall, elegant beings with blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the chamber's lights. Every council member turned to watch. As they walked down the center aisle, High Arbiter Thexan looked surprised. "Ship Mother Veltar, you were scheduled to give testimony tomorrow. Why are you here now?" "Because I cannot wait another day to speak the truth," Veltar said. Her musical voice carried clearly through the large chamber. "I have listened to your discussions about humanity, and I must tell you that everything you have said is wrong." Angry, murmurs rose from the council members. Counselor Zarahai stood up. "The Zephyrians are grateful for the rescue, but gratitude does not change the law." "This is not about gratitude," Veltar said firmly. "This is about justice. And what you plan to do to humanity is the opposite of justice." Thexan gestured for her to continue. "You may speak, but remember that the humans violated clear council law. Nothing can change that fact." Veltar walked to the center platform where Linda Brooks had stood the day before. She looked around at the thousands of council members. "You are right that humans violated your law, but you are wrong about why they did it. They acted without thinking," said Ambassador Krixtal. "Primitive species always act on emotion instead of logic." "No," Veltar said. "They acted after thinking very carefully. Captain Morrison knew exactly what he was risking when he entered our system. He knew he was breaking your laws. He knew his species would be punished. He chose to save our lives anyway." One of Veltar's crew members stepped forward. This was Chief Engineer Mordek, who had worked with the humans during the rescue. "I was there when the human engineer Lisa Parker fixed our power systems. She spent 6 hours connecting their primitive equipment to our advanced systems. It should not have worked, but she made it work." "Their methods were crude," another council member said, "using manual tools and simple repairs." "Their methods worked," Mordek replied. "Our advanced systems had failed completely. Our computers could not find solutions. The humans looked at our problems and fixed them with their hands and their tools and their determination." Veltar nodded. That is what you do not understand about humans. They do not see problems as impossible. They see problems as challenges to solve. Dr. Yelnara, the chief medical officer from Cosmic Harmony, stepped forward. The human doctor, Sam Bradley, treated our injured with techniques we had never seen. When our medical computers failed, he used his own knowledge and simple tools to help our people. But their medical technology is so primitive, Zarahai protested. How could it possibly help your people? Because he cared more about healing than about technology, Yelnara said. He did not worry about whether his methods were advanced. Enough. He worried about whether they would help the patients. Veltar raised her voice so everyone in the chamber could hear. You call the humans primitive. You say they are dangerous because they act without permission. But let me tell you what I saw during those 8 hours. The chamber became quiet. Even the council members who had been whispering stopped to listen. I saw humans work without stopping, to save people they had never met, Veltar continued. I saw them share their limited supplies with strangers. I saw them risk their own lives to fix our ship. I saw them refuse any payment or reward for their help. That proves they do not understand galactic economics, Krixtal said. That proves they understand something more important than economics, Veltar shot back. They understand that some things are more valuable than money or rules or protocols. Pilot Kevara from Veltar's crew spoke up. When their pilot Amy Chen docked with our ship, it was impossible. Our systems were completely different. But she spent hours making the impossible work because she knew lives depended on it. They modified their equipment with spare parts and welding tools, added Navigation Officer Tarwin. They created solutions that no computer would ever suggest. But their solutions worked. Veltar walked closer to the council members in the front rows. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? I will tell you. They are dangerous to anyone who thinks rules are more important than lives. They are dangerous to anyone who believes that following orders is more important than doing what is right. Rules exist for good reasons, Thexan said sternly. Without rules, there is chaos. Without compassion, there is death, Veltar replied. 50,000 of my people would be dead right now if humans followed your rules. The proper rescue ships would have arrived eventually, Zarahai said. 6 days later, Veltar said. My people would have been dead for 5 days by then. Mordek stepped forward again. The humans asked us many questions while they worked. They wanted to understand our technology and our culture, but they never asked if we could pay them. They never asked what they would get for helping us. They only asked how they could help more. When Captain Morrison prepared to leave, Veltar said, I offered him anything we had. Rare metals, advanced technology, star charts of our territory. He refused everything. He said that helping others was reward enough. Dr. Yelnara nodded. Their doctor spent hours teaching our medical staff his techniques. He shared his knowledge, freely, even though he knew we might never meet again. The chamber was completely silent now. Veltar could see that her words were having an effect on some council members. Others still looked angry, but many were thinking about what she had said. You plan to punish humanity for breaking your laws, Veltar continued. But what you are really punishing is their willingness to help others. You are punishing their courage, their compassion, and their determination to do what is right. The law must be respected, Thexan said, but his voice sounded less certain than before. There are laws higher than council regulations, Veltar said. The law that says we should help those in need. The law that says life is precious. The law that says doing the right thing sometimes requires breaking the wrong rules. She turned to address the entire chamber. I came here to speak for humanity, because they cannot speak for themselves. They are not here to defend their actions. They are probably out in space right now, helping someone else who needs help. That is exactly the problem, Krixtal said. They act without authorization. They act without hesitation, Veltar corrected. When they see suffering, they do not wait for committees to approve action. They do not file reports while people die. They act. She paused and looked directly at High Arbiter Thexan. I formally request that humanity be granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Not just forgiveness for their supposed crimes, but full citizenship and voting rights. The chamber erupted. Council members stood up and shouted in dozens of languages. Some were angry, others were surprised, and a few were nodding in agreement. When order was finally restored, Thexan spoke slowly. Ship Mother Veltar, what you request is unprecedented. No species has ever been granted full membership for breaking our laws. No species has ever saved 50,000 lives while breaking your laws, Veltar replied. Humans have proven that they value life above rules, compassion above protocol, and action above bureaucracy. Those are exactly the qualities we need more of in this galaxy. As Veltar and her crew left the chamber, the council members sat in stunned silence. They had expected to condemn humanity, but instead they were being asked to reward them. The debate that followed would last for hours and change everything. The Galactic Council chamber was tense with debate. For 6 hours, council members had argued about what to do with humanity. Some wanted to punish humans severely. Others, influenced by Veltar's testimony, thought humans deserved another chance. High. Arbiter Thexan finally called for order. The chamber grew quiet as he prepared to announce the council's decision. Ambassador Linda Brooks stood on the platform waiting to hear humanity's fate. The council has reached a decision, Thexan said. His voice echoed through the enormous chamber. We are divided on the question of humanity. Some believe your species should be punished. Others believe you should be rewarded. Linda felt her heart beating fast. What does that mean for humanity? It means we have decided on a compromise, Counselor Zarahai said. She stood up in her section of the chamber. Humanity will be given a chance to prove itself worthy of galactic citizenship. What kind of chance? Linda asked. Thexan gestured, and 3 large screens appeared above the chamber. Each screen showed a different star system with serious problems. The galaxy faces many challenges that our greatest minds have been unable to solve. We will give humanity the opportunity to attempt 3 of these impossible tasks. Linda looked at the screens with growing concern. What are these challenges? Ambassador Krixtal spoke from his section. The first is the quantum plague affecting the Rigel colonies. This disease has puzzled our best scientists for over 200 years. It attacks the quantum structure of living cells. Every cure we have tried has failed. The screen showed images of a once beautiful world that was now mostly empty. Buildings stood abandoned, and the few remaining inhabitants lived in sealed shelters. The second challenge, Zarahai continued, is the collapsing stellar nursery in the Orion sector. A region where new stars are born is falling apart. If it collapses completely, it will destroy dozens of inhabited systems. The second screen showed a massive cloud of gas and dust that was clearly unstable. Parts of it were already falling inward, and the destruction was spreading. The third challenge, Thexan said, is the endless war between the Silicon Collective and the Crystal Alliance. These two species have been fighting for 300 years. Every peace negotiation has failed. Millions die every year in their conflict. The third screen showed battle scenes from the war. Ships destroying each other, planets being bombarded, and refugees fleeing their homes. Linda stared at the screens in shock. Each problem looked impossible to solve. These challenges have stumped the entire galaxy for centuries. How do you expect humanity to solve them? We don't, Crixtal said with obvious satisfaction. These challenges are meant to demonstrate that humans are not as capable as they think they are. When you fail, you will accept your limitations and follow galactic law. What happens if we succeed? Linda asked. Thexan paused before answering. If humanity can solve even one of these challenges within one galactic standard year, we will grant you provisional membership in the Council. If you solve 2 challenges, you will receive full membership. If you somehow solve all 3, he paused again. If you solve all 3, humanity will be granted permanent seats on the Council with full voting rights. And if we fail? If you fail to solve any of the challenges, Zarahai said, humanity will accept permanent quarantine. Your species will remain in your home system forever. You will never again be allowed to leave Earth's solar system. Linda felt the weight of the decision. Humanity's entire future depended on solving problems that had defeated the greatest minds in the galaxy. But she also knew that humans were good at doing the impossible. We accept, she said. Several council members looked surprised. They had expected humans to refuse such an unfair challenge. You accept without even consulting your government? Thexan asked. I know my people, Linda said. Humans never back down from a challenge, especially when lives are at stake. We'll send teams to work on all 3 problems. Very well, Thexan said. You have 1 galactic standard year, beginning now. We will provide transportation to each challenge site and basic resources, but the solutions must come from human minds and human methods. What about the restrictions on human travel? Linda asked. The restrictions are temporarily lifted for the teams working on these challenges, Zarahai said, but only for these teams. All other humans must remain in their designated space. Over the next few days, Earth's government organized 3 teams to tackle the impossible challenges. The selection process was intense. They needed their best scientists, doctors, engineers, and diplomats. Dr. Kevin Hayes was chosen to lead the medical team going to Rigel. He was a brilliant doctor who specialized in unusual diseases. His team included experts in quantum physics, biology, and experimental medicine. Dr. Rachel Stone was selected to lead the astrophysics team going to the Orion sector. She was a stellar engineer who had designed new types of star-forming equipment. Her team included scientists who specialized in large-scale space phenomena. The diplomatic team for the Silicon Crystal War was led by Captain Tony Garcia, a former military officer who had become a negotiator. With him went Sarah Kim, a cultural specialist who studied alien societies, and several other experts in conflict resolution. Each team knew they were facing impossible odds. The problems they were trying to solve had defeated thousands of the galaxy's best minds, but they also knew that humanity's future depended on their success. As the teams prepared to leave Earth, people around the world watched and hoped. Messages of support came from every nation. Children drew pictures of the teams solving the challenges. Scientists shared their theories and ideas. Dr. Hayes spoke for all the teams when he addressed the world before departure. We know these challenges seem impossible, but humans have been doing the impossible for our entire history. We learned to fly when everyone said it was impossible. We went to the moon when everyone said it was impossible. We've solved problems that seemed hopeless before. We're not just representing Earth, Dr. Stone added. We're representing the idea that problems exist to be solved, not to be accepted. We're representing the human belief that there's always a way if you're willing to work hard enough to find it. Captain Garcia concluded, "We're going to prove that humans don't just break rules, we break the rules of what's supposed to be possible." As the three teams left Earth on their impossible missions, the galaxy watched with interest. Most species expected the humans to fail quickly and dramatically. A few, like the Zephyrians, hoped that humans would surprise everyone again. None of them expected what actually happened. The humans didn't just attempt the impossible. They made it look easy. Dr. Kevin Hayes stood on the surface of Rigel Prime, looking at what had once been a thriving city. Now it was a ghost town. Empty buildings stretched in every direction, and the few Rigelians who remained lived in sealed shelters, afraid to breathe the outside air. "The quantum plague has been spreading for 200 years, explained Dr. Zixara, the lead Rigelian scientist. She wore a full protective suit, as did all her people. It breaks down the quantum bonds that hold living cells together. Once infected, beings simply dissolve." Kevin's team had been on Rigel for 3 weeks, studying the plague with equipment the Rigelians provided. The alien scientists watched with polite skepticism as the humans used their simple instruments alongside the advanced Rigelian technology. "Have you tried electromagnetic pulse therapy?" asked Dr. Lisa Chen, Kevin's quantum physics specialist. "EMP therapy?" Dr. Zixara sounded confused. "That is a very primitive treatment. It would disrupt all quantum processes, not just the plague." "That's exactly the point," Kevin said. He had been studying the plague samples under his microscope. "This plague is too smart. It adapts to every treatment because it uses the same quantum processes as healthy cells. But what if we disrupt all quantum processes temporarily?" "That would kill the patient," Dr. Zixara protested. "Not if we do it right," Dr. Chen said. She was working on calculations at her computer. Short electromagnetic pulses, precisely timed, could reset the quantum state of infected cells without causing permanent damage. The Rigelian scientists looked horrified. "You want to use controlled electromagnetic attacks on living beings? That is barbaric." "Sometimes barbaric works," Kevin said. He remembered what the crew of Terra's Edge had accomplished with simple tools. "Can we test this theory on infected tissue samples?" Dr. Zixara reluctantly agreed. She provided several samples of plague-infected tissue. Kevin's team set up their EMP equipment, which looked crude compared to the elegant Rigelian medical devices. "Beginning controlled electromagnetic pulse," Dr. Chen announced. She activated the human equipment. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the infected tissue began to change. The dissolution process stopped. The quantum structures stabilized. The plague was gone. "Impossible," Dr. Zixara whispered. "The tissue is healthy again." "It worked because we stopped thinking like the plague," Kevin explained. "Every advanced treatment tries to be smarter than the disease. We decided to be simpler instead." Meanwhile, in the Orion sector, Dr. Rachel Stone was facing a different kind of impossible problem. The stellar nursery was a massive cloud of gas and dust where new stars were born. But something had destabilized it, and now it was collapsing inward. "The gravitational forces are too strong," explained Keeper Morthak of the Andromedan Science Guild. "Our computer models show that nothing can stop the collapse. When it finishes, the resulting explosion will destroy 12 inhabited systems." Rachel floated in space inside her protective suit, looking at the collapsing cloud through her telescope. Her team had spent a month studying the problem with the most advanced equipment the galaxy could provide. "What if we don't try to stop the collapse?" she said suddenly. "I don't understand," said Dr. James Park, her stellar dynamics expert. "We've been thinking about this wrong," Rachel continued. "We're trying to prevent the collapse, but what if we control it instead?" Keeper Morthak's insect-like features showed confusion. "Control a stellar collapse? That is impossible. The energies involved are beyond any technology." "Not beyond nuclear technology," Rachel said. "What if we use controlled nuclear explosions to guide the collapse? We can't stop it, but we can direct where it goes." "Nuclear explosions in a stellar nursery?" Keeper Morthak sounded shocked. "That is the most dangerous suggestion I have ever heard." "Dangerous but possible," Dr. Park said. He was running calculations on his computer. "If we place nuclear charges at specific points around the cloud, we can create pressure waves that redirect the collapse away from inhabited systems." "You want to use primitive nuclear weapons to control stellar formation?" Keeper Morthak asked. "No civilized species would consider such a crude approach." "That's why it might work," Rachel said. "Sometimes the best solution is the one nobody expects." In the contested zone between Silicon Collective and Crystal Alliance territory, Captain Tony Garcia was learning about the longest war in galactic history. The two species had been fighting for 300 years over control of rare crystal formations. "They cannot communicate with each other," explained Ambassador Veldrak, the neutral mediator who had tried for decades to make peace. "Silicon beings are logical and mathematical. Crystal beings are emotional and artistic. Every negotiation fails because they cannot understand each other." Tony's team had spent weeks meeting with both sides. The Silicon Collective representatives spoke only in numbers and equations. The Crystal Alliance delegates expressed everything through colors and music. Previous peace negotiations had collapsed because neither side could understand what the other wanted. "What if we don't try to make them understand each other?" suggested Sarah Kim, the cultural specialist. "What if we give them something they both want more than they want to fight?" "What could be more important to them than their war?" Ambassador Veldrak asked. "Competition," Tony said. "Both species are competitive. They've been competing through warfare for 3 centuries. What if we gave them a different way to compete?" "You want to give warring species a new competition?" Veldrak sounded skeptical. "Sports," Sarah said excitedly. "Games, contests. Humans have been using competition to avoid warfare for thousands of years, but they cannot even communicate with each other." "They don't need to communicate to compete," Tony pointed out. "In sports, the score speaks for itself." Within days, Tony's team had introduced both species to human games. The Silicon Collective was fascinated by chess and mathematical puzzles. The Crystal Alliance loved artistic competitions and music contests. "This is ridiculous," the Silicon ambassador said after losing his 3rd chess match to a human. "But I demand a rematch." "The music competition was beautiful," the Crystal Alliance representative sang. "We must have more of these concerts, you humans call them." Soon both species were so interested in competing in human games that they forgot about fighting each other. Silicon beings developed new mathematical games. Crystal beings created spectacular artistic displays. The war gradually stopped as soldiers became players and generals became coaches. Back on Earth, people watched the news with amazement. The 3 impossible challenges were being solved, one by one. The quantum plague on Rigel was being cured with electromagnetic pulse therapy. The Orion stellar nursery was being stabilized with controlled nuclear explosions. The Silicon Crystal War was ending because both sides preferred human games to galactic warfare. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humans accomplished in months what had seemed impossible for centuries. Each solution defied conventional wisdom. Each success came from thinking differently about old problems, but the biggest surprise was still to come. The humans weren't just solving the challenges, they were making it look easy. 6 months after the human teams had begun their impossible missions, the galaxy was watching in amazement. News reports came from all 3 challenge sites, and every report brought more shocking success. On Rigel Prime, Dr. Kevin Hayes stood in the central plaza of what had been a dead city. Now it was full of life again. Rigelian families walked in the open air without protective suits. Children played in parks that had been empty for 2 centuries. The electromagnetic pulse therapy has cured 97% of all plague victims, Dr. Hayes reported to the Galactic Council. The remaining 3% are responding well to continued treatment. The quantum plague that stumped your best scientists for 200 years has been eliminated. Dr. Zixara stood beside him, still amazed by what had happened. The human solution was so simple that we never considered it. They reset the quantum state of infected cells using controlled electromagnetic pulses. It should not have worked, but it did. "How did you think of such an unusual approach?" asked High Arbiter Thexan from the council chamber. Kevin smiled. "We stopped trying to be smarter than the disease and decided to be simpler instead. Sometimes the best solution is the most obvious one." The scene switched to the Orion sector, where Dr. Rachel Stone floated in space near the stellar nursery. Behind her, the collapsing gas cloud was now stable and forming new stars in controlled patterns. The nuclear detonation method has successfully redirected the stellar collapse, Dr. Stone reported. Instead of a catastrophic explosion that would destroy 12 systems, we now have controlled star formation that will create new solar systems in safe areas. Keeper Morthak of the Andromedan Science Guild appeared on screen, his insect-like features showing amazement. The humans used what they call controlled nuclear explosions to create pressure waves in the gas cloud. No civilized species would have attempted such a dangerous solution, but it worked perfectly. "Weren't you concerned about the risks?" Counselor Zarahai asked. Rachel shrugged. "Of course we were concerned, but doing nothing was more dangerous than trying something new. Sometimes you have to risk everything to save everything." But the most shocking success came from the war zone between the Silicon Collective and Crystal Alliance. Captain Tony Garcia stood in what had once been a battlefield. Now it was a massive sports complex where members of both species competed in various human games. The 300-year war between the Silicon Collective and Crystal Alliance has officially ended, Tony reported. Both species have signed permanent peace treaties and are now focused on competitive sports and cultural exchanges. The camera showed Silicon beings playing chess and solving mathematical puzzles, while Crystal beings performed music and created artistic displays. Members of both species watched each other's competitions with interest and respect. "How did you convince 2 warring species to stop fighting?" Ambassador Veldrak asked. He had tried for decades to make peace between the 2 species. We didn't convince them to stop fighting, Sarah Kim explained. We gave them something better to fight about. Both species love competition, so we introduced them to competitive sports and games. Sports ended a 300-year war? Thek's son sounded incredulous. Competition ended the war, Tony corrected. They were competing through warfare because that was the only competition they knew. We showed them dozens of other ways to compete that don't involve killing each other. A Silicon Collective representative appeared on screen. The human games require strategic thinking and mathematical precision. They are much more challenging than simple warfare. A Crystal Alliance delegate also spoke. The human arts allow for emotional expression and creative beauty. They are far more satisfying than destruction. The Galactic Council chamber was silent as the reports ended. 3 impossible challenges had been solved. 50,000 years of combined scientific effort had been outdone by human teams in 6 months. This is unprecedented, Thekson finally said. Humanity has succeeded beyond our wildest expectations. They have succeeded beyond our worst fears, Krixtal muttered. If they can solve these challenges so easily, what else might they do? But the surprises weren't over. Dr. Hayes spoke again from Rigel. We've been sharing our electromagnetic pulse therapy with other worlds. It turns out this treatment works on several other quantum-based diseases. We might be able to eliminate an entire class of illnesses. Dr. Stone added from the Orion sector. Our nuclear pressure wave technique can be used to control other stellar phenomena. We could stabilize dying stars or redirect dangerous cosmic events. Captain Garcia concluded from the former war zone. Both the Silicon Collective and Crystal Alliance want to teach their competitive methods to other species. We might be able to end other conflicts using similar approaches. The implications were staggering. Humans hadn't just solved 3 impossible problems. They had discovered methods that could solve hundreds of similar problems across the galaxy. Counselor Zarahai spoke first. If the human methods are so effective, perhaps we should study them more carefully. Perhaps we should ask them to help with other challenges, suggested another council member. Perhaps we should admit that we were wrong about humanity, said Ship Mother Veltar, who had been watching from the gallery. Over the following weeks, requests for human assistance poured into Earth from across the galaxy. The Betelgeuse system wanted help with their failing ecosystem. The Vega colonies needed assistance with an energy crisis. The Tau Ceti Confederation asked for help resolving a political deadlock. Every request was met with the same human response. We'll help if we can. Teams of human scientists, engineers, doctors, and diplomats spread across the galaxy. They approached each new challenge with the same attitude that had solved the 3 impossible problems. There's always a solution if you're willing to think differently. The results were remarkable. Ecosystems were restored using simple biological techniques. Energy crises were solved with basic engineering principles. Political deadlocks were broken through creative negotiation methods. Each success reinforced the same pattern. Humans succeeded, where others failed because they approached problems differently. They weren't smarter than other species, but they thought in ways that other species had never considered. The galaxy began to realize that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their intelligence. It was their refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. As the 1-year deadline approached, it became clear that humanity had not just met the challenge. They had exceeded it so completely that the original terms seemed almost meaningless. The question was no longer whether humans deserved membership in the Galactic Council. The question was whether the Galactic Council was worthy of humanity. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from hundreds of species filled every seat, and thousands more watched from viewing galleries. The entire galaxy wanted to witness humanity's final evaluation. Ambassador Linda Brooks stood on the central platform, but this time she was not alone. Dr. Kevin Hayes, Dr. Rachel Stone, Captain Tony Garcia, and dozens of other humans who had worked on the impossible challenges stood with her. High Arbiter Thexan looked down at the human delegation. His expression was very different from the anger and condescension he had shown a year ago. Now he looked uncertain, almost nervous. In the history of the Galactic Council, Thexan began, no species has ever accomplished what humanity has achieved in the past year. You were given 3 impossible challenges, and you solved all of them within 6 months. We also solved 14 other problems that various species brought to us, Linda added. We're working on 23 more challenges right now. The chamber erupted in voices from dozens of species. Representatives stood up to speak about how humans had helped their worlds. The noise grew so loud that Thexan had to call for order repeatedly. The Rigel colonies are completely free of the quantum plague, announced the Rigelian delegate. Human electromagnetic pulse therapy has saved billions of lives. The Orion stellar nursery is now producing new stars in a controlled pattern, said the Andromedan representative. Human nuclear pressure techniques have turned a disaster into an opportunity for expansion. The Silicon Collective and Crystal Alliance have formed a permanent cultural exchange union, reported Ambassador Veldrak. The longest war in galactic history has become the largest peace celebration. Species after species stood to praise human achievements. The Centaurians talked about how humans had restored their dying ecosystem. The Vegans described how human engineers had solved their energy crisis. The Taucedians explained how human diplomats had ended their political deadlock. Counselor Zara High, who had been one of humanity's harshest critics, stood to speak. I opposed granting humans any consideration. I believed they were too primitive and dangerous for galactic civilization. I was wrong. Her admission sent shock waves through the chamber. Zara High had never admitted being wrong about anything. The humans have proven that primitive methods can be superior to advanced ones, she continued. They have shown that simple solutions often work better than complex ones. They have demonstrated that acting without permission can be better than waiting for approval. Ambassador Crixtall also stood. The Andromedan Union formally requests that humanity be granted not just membership but leadership positions in the Council. They have proven they can solve problems that defeat our greatest minds. I second that request, said the Rigelian delegate. The Zephyrian Republic thirds it, announced Shipmother Veltar. Within minutes, dozens of species had formally requested that humanity be given permanent leadership roles in the Galactic Council. The species that had wanted to quarantine humans a year ago were now asking them to lead the galaxy. Thexan looked around the chamber in amazement. This is unprecedented. No species has ever been offered council leadership on their first day of membership. No species has ever earned it like humanity has, Veltar replied. Linda stepped forward. Before we accept any positions, I want to make something clear. Humans didn't solve these challenges to prove we're better than anyone else. We solved them because people needed help. That is exactly why you should lead us, said the Centaurian delegate. You act based on need, not politics, Dr. Hayes spoke up. When we developed the electromagnetic pulse therapy, we immediately shared it with every world that needed it. We didn't try to profit from it or control who could use it. When we stabilized the stellar nursery, Dr. Stone added. We taught other species how to use the technique. We want everyone to benefit from what we learned, Captain Garcia concluded. When we ended the Silicon Crystal War, both species asked us to help them share their new peaceful competition with other worlds. The goal was never to control anything. It was to help everyone. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't trying to dominate the galaxy. They were trying to help it. Thexan spoke slowly. I have never encountered a species like humanity. You have the power to solve our greatest challenges, but you use that power only to help others. You could demand payment for your services, but you refuse all rewards. You could control access to your solutions, but you share them freely. That's what civilized beings do, Linda said simply. They help each other. Then perhaps, Thexan said, we need to redefine what civilization means. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council with permanent seats and voting rights. But more than that, they were asked to lead the Council's new department of problem resolution. Your mission, Thexan explained, will be to tackle challenges that seem impossible, to find solutions where none appear to exist, to help species across the galaxy when they face problems that defeat conventional wisdom. Linda looked at her fellow humans. They were scientists, engineers, doctors, and diplomats who had spent their careers solving problems. Now they were being asked to do it on a galactic scale. We accept, she said. 3 months later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the new ship Human Spirit. It was the largest and most advanced vessel humans had ever built, constructed with technology shared by grateful species across the galaxy. Admiral, said his communications officer, we're receiving a distress call from the Kepler 186 system. An unknown species is facing extinction from a cosmic disaster. Jake smiled. A year ago, responding to such a call would have meant breaking council law. Now it was his official mission. Do we have council authorization to respond? Asked his first officer. Jake's smile grew wider. Humans never ask for permission. We just do the impossible. Set course for Kepler 186, maximum speed. Sir, the navigation officer said, the Kepler 186 system is unexplored. We don't know what we'll find there. We'll find people who need help, Jake replied. That's all we need to know. As Human Spirit jumped into hyperspace, its crew prepared for another impossible mission. Behind them, the galaxy watched with confidence instead of fear. When humans went to help, problems got solved. The age of humans asking for permission was over. The age of humans doing the impossible had begun. In the months that followed, human teams spread across the galaxy. They restored dead worlds, prevented cosmic disasters, ended ancient conflicts, and cured diseases that had plagued species for millennia. Each success reinforced the same truth. There was no such thing as an impossible problem, only solutions that hadn't been found yet. The galaxy learned to trust human judgment, human methods, and human determination. When faced with any challenge, the standard response became, call the humans. They'll figure it out. And they always did, because humans never asked for permission to do what was right. They just did the impossible, one challenge at a time. The future belonged to a galaxy where no problem was too big, no challenge too difficult, and no dream too ambitious. It belonged to a galaxy where humans had taught everyone that the word impossible was just another word for not yet solved. It belonged to a galaxy where doing the right thing always came first and asking permission came never.